me out every time. The mirror from the two platforms. Okay. So I need some tea, so I'm going to pour myself a cup of tea while see if anyone's going to join in. I'm just having a cup of tea. Can wait a minute. I'm glad I made it on here today. This is the third time this week that I've tried to go live. So I'm glad I made it. It's really warm in here right now. I can't, that's because the sun is still out. That's why. Once the sun goes down, it'll be different. I think that's the secret, is wait until the sun is out. Because then the room's warmer. Just made a mess. I'm having tension tamer tea today. Have y'all ever had that? It's a celestial seasonings tea. It's got mint and chamomile. And on the cover of on the box, there's an image of a dragon lady. And that's what my ex-husband would call me, dragon lady. So it's funny to get that tea. Brings up a lot of memories. And when I did behave like a dragon lady, I had severe undiagnosed PTSD. And I definitely was a dragon lady. So having some dragon lady tea. And staying warm. It feels really good in here. I'm so happy right now. Some people laugh and say I have tea with my honey. Tease me. Looks like YouTube is having buffering issues again. Let me see if I can close up something here. Something I don't need to be open. Might just start using the phone on YouTube. This keeps happening. This is the third time I've gone. Good rising. Can you tell me, are you buffering right now, or is it listenable? Whatever. Yes, it's a good day. I made it on here today. No, it's buffering. Oh, it's good. Okay, great. All right, wonderful. Okay. All right. So this is we're gonna have 3 sessions today because I have to take breaks in between each session. Good rising, Move Maker International. Global Dignity Headquarters. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I'm going to have to take a break to go walk my dog. So we're going to have the first session, which is usually called TaMeriKan Tuesdays. I don't know what it's called now. I called it TaMeriKan Cosmology because we talk about things dealing with TaMeriKa and, cosmology. Not the same as astrology or astronomy, but it's more like galactic astronomy, galactic cultural astronomy. And then we'll take a break and come back with the astronomy session, astrology session with the sound healing and meditation. And then we'll take another break and I will be back for a devotion session in the evening. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it today. And I have something that I want to do that could go with either section, but I'm going to put it with this first section. So my name is Tachia, aka Arit, and I'm currently living in Chicago, Illinois. I grew up here and then moved to Austin. Well, I went to college in Ohio, went to Oberlin College, and went to grad school in Austin, Texas, and had a spiritual awakening while living in Austin, Texas, after experiencing some great trauma and tragedy. Oh. I'm supposed to ask you to share the live and invite more friends. Okay, I'm just reading instructions. And that led to a spiritual awakening, a cultural awakening, a musical explosion. Started a family and just went through this amazing spiritual and cultural journey that got me to where I am today. And even though I've been wanting to teach for a while, I've been putting it off. And so these live stream sessions are, getting me ready to actually start teaching like organized classes. These sessions help me keep up with my research. They help me with my spiritual practice. And recently I've learned that it's more than just making offerings from the Cosmology temple, but these sessions are a way for me to do what is called selfless service, and which cleanses my REU, which is giving me a different perspective on how I run them, which is why I stopped trying to do things at a certain time or a certain day, because I was getting really stressed out. And this is supposed to be about light being wellness, and I was being stressed. So that's why there's no real schedule right now. Like I said in one video, I start when I'm 30 minutes past ready, when I'm ready, and will end 30 minutes after I'm done. And so if you want to keep up with it on a consistent basis, you can always watch the replays on the YouTube channels. Currently, I go live both on the music slash politics, whatever channel, and then I also do a live stream from the sound healing channel, Kimatone's channel. So you kind of have to subscribe to both for the time being. And how did I get started in all this? Well, I went to grad school in astronomy at UT Austin, and that's where I experienced great trauma and tragedy. And I withdrew from that department and went back to study cultural astronomy once I learned about Sirius. And so I went back to UT Austin grad school, Latin American studies, to study cultural astronomy, which I realized was Sirius and galactic astronomy over certain areas, in particular North, Central, and South America, and Egypt. And so that is how I got onto this journey with the galactic calendar, the Sirius calendar, the 13-month sidereal calendar, the lunar calendar, and galactic calendar. So during these sessions, I read from some of my books on cosmology from Peru and Mexico mostly. Those are the ones I'm most familiar with. And then the Cherokee Nation and Lakota Nation, because those are the ones that I'm most familiar with. Those are the ones that I have lineage. And I'm just putting together pieces. This is the first book that I wrote on Introduction to the Galactic Worldview. I'm getting ready to upload it, so it'll be available online. And then my Olmec Celestial Travel Guide from when I went to see the Olmec heads. And then I've also been to Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, and Belize, looking for proof of ancient Egypt in those countries and their culture and their pyramids. And so, I did some of that research, and then I spent like 12 years totally immersed in Kemetic spirituality with EgyptianYoga.com, spiritual preceptors, Seba Man, Seba Cha. And after my last trip there, while I was leaving Cairo to catch the plane home, my spirit guides told me that my studies over there are done, and I'm going to be focusing on my original research project, which is showing the oneness between the Kemetic spirituality and what is now the TaMeriKan spirituality, or Natarian. If you look at it from a bigger picture, I call it Natarian spirituality because it's not limited to one time or place, because there's Natarian spirituality all over the world, just different ways and different names, different languages. And my concentration is on North, Central, and South America and Kemet. North, Central, and South America is known as TaMeri, a Natarian language. Medu Neter, which means beloved land, is known as Chi Amaru, Amaru, Ka. And North America is known as Turtle Island. So I'm looking for the correspondences between These civilizations based on the cosmology of the Milky Way galaxy, not just the sun or not just the moon, but the galaxy. And that is what we learn about when we come on to these sessions with myself, Tachia, aka Arit, which means offering, musical offering. It means good rising ask. It means it's a name for the chakras, the arits, the aritus is the word for chakras. Arit is one chakra. And it also is a word for action, and it's connected to the word Ariyu. Ariyu is the essence of everything that's happened to us that's stored in us, symbolized that's stored in our hearts. And when they say keep your heart as light as a feather, that also means keep your aritus pure and clean and moving in alignment. And so that's some of the things that my Materian name means. We'll talk more about those later during the devotion. So today we're going to be reading from some of my favorite books. Well, actually, I can't even say they're my favorite books. There's books I've been collecting for decades that I've never made time to read. And so I come on here and we read them together. So usually we read from the Mayan traditions. I'm really into the cosmology and the hieroglyphs because I like comparing them to the ones that I've learned from Kemet. Good rising, great awakenings, Jessica. Thank you for sharing the love. Oh, where's my little sign? Yeah. So today. Oh, you know what else I wanted to talk about before I go any further? Rising, great awakening. I had a wonderful time when I was in Cahokia. And for those of you on YouTube, I apologize. I haven't finished uploading all the videos. But if you're interested in that kind of stuff, check out my videos, the replays on YouTube, my recent trip to Cahokia Mounds. And the next one is being planned for Ohio, to visit the Serpent Mounds in Ohio. I might visit some mounds I just learned about in Indianapolis when I go sometime within the next month or so. But that'll be a more personal trip with my family. But the one in June 22nd, I believe, some people have already said they're going to meet me there. So just wanted to make sure I keep talking about that. But anyway, I thought that, and if you want to learn more about the mounds, if you have the Netflix channel, be sure to watch Ancient Apocalypse with Graham Hancock, and he talks a lot about the mounds and things like that. So usually, like I say, I study the Mayan books, but today I thought it'd be fun to read. Oh, I know what else I want to talk about. I wanted to have a shout out. Okay, yeah, I have a little outline here. So I wanted to point out about the TaMeri that I feel that, and I believe I have seen videos about this, that the Tartarians are also, also referred to as TaMeri. You know how they're always just like changing the way things are pronounced. So there's that. I think that's a connection there. I have to look into it more. And then I wanted to have a shout out to some of the other teachers, aka content creators. Great awakenings, Rasta Mystic. Thank you for the love. I want to have a shout out to some of the teachers and creators I follow on TikTok and YouTube. I just recently, so the guy, We Know the Truth Now. These are people I wish I had time to watch their live streams more, but I'm just kind of like, just can catch glimmers of it and bits and pieces. But the guy, We Know the Truth Now. Today I was watching his live stream and he was talking about the culture that of the Aboriginal or original people of this North Central South America TaMeri was mostly primarily for agricultural purposes, for knowing when to plant, knowing when to harvest, and because he talks a lot about the stars too, which is my big thing. And I didn't catch his lecture part on meditation and spirituality, but what I did catch, he was just basically saying that was all knowledge. Astrology and spirituality was to, to I guess to effectively grow food, basically to be really good farmers. And I just really appreciate the research that he shares with us. I'm a farmer too. When I lived in California and Texas, I had farms and gardens, and I did learn to farm by the stars and the motions of the Milky Way. That's what the Quechua culture was teaching, and the Mayan teaching. It's more than just being a good farmer, because he does talk about being in touch with yourself and with nature, and that is what spiritual practices do for me. They help me stay in touch with my divinity, my higher self. They help me stay in tune with nature by following the seasons. I think I do the spiral dance medicine wheel offerings at the solstices, equinoxes, and the mid seasons. That's why I went to Cahokia a few weeks ago. It was for February 1st. And so I agree that it is for agricultural. However, it's agricultural and spirituality, maybe spiritual agricultural practices. But we all have a spiritual nature to our lives, and they go hand in hand, the agricultural and spirituality and the stars. That's the basis for the cosmology. That's the basis for following Sirius and the sacred hoop. Because Sirius, according to the Dogon from Mali, which is my favorite Syrian culture, Sirius is a tiny seed. It's a tiny seed, and it was the heaviest object in creation. It was the first object in creation was a seed. So it's just really beautiful. In fact, my name, Arit, the symbol for it looks like a seed. It's actually something that I've seen. I haven't seen it so much since I took on the name Arit, but before I even knew about it, whenever I would close my eyes like this, I would see the symbol for Arit. And I never knew what it meant. And then the first time I went to Egypt to commit with the name Arit, and I saw the symbol it was carved everywhere, then I don't really see it in my inner eye anymore. Or maybe it's just because I don't do this. I don't have time to do this anymore. Okay, so then the next one is Kimmy Got Bars. If you ever, she goes a great deal into the hieroglyphs, and then she has really fascinating panel discussions on different topics related to Kemet or African spirituality, or it's always fascinating. And the last time I caught her session, she had a sign behind her. So you think it's time. What was it? If you know that Kemet is older than Syrian and some other old ancient culture, and I'm forgetting the name right now, then do you think it's time for African Renaissance or something like that? And I answered, I think it's time for a Renaissance here in TaMeri, because we are the original people that are still completely, overcome and brainwashed. At least in other continents, the people are still connected to their ancestral culture, but us here, it wasn't just taken from us, it was given to someone else, and we were left just looking at it, like trying to understand. So I'm not saying I'm against an African Renaissance, but I believe that we need one here right now. And so we had a fun time talking about that. And then also just recently I learned about inner mileage, and he's a coach on TikTok that's helping you like recover from narcissism. And if you're looking for some good spiritual counseling. He does have a free session. And we talked about forgiveness, how I've done a lot of work in the past on forgiveness. But he read he read me and it's like, you need to do more, you need to forgive more. And so it started me thinking about practices that I've done for forgiveness in the past, but I kind of like haven't done it in a while. So I'm going to pick up on that again. But this time around, I'm going to pick it up for the people, of TaMeriKa, because we're living under domestic violence and domestic abuse and words that I can't say on these live streams. And so, we'll do some work on us on a personal level during the sound healing sessions, but during these sessions, we're going to be just focusing on healing, our people. And I used to say all people, but now I just say people who live with Ma'at in their heart, because I don't want to give any of my energy to people who are set up to destroy us. So I've set that boundary in my prayers and healing work. This is more like protection rather than exclusion. It's just, I just don't want that in my, my cycle or whatever. So we'll do that after the reading. So how long is that? That's a super long introduction. I just wanted to shout out. So what did I have? Okay. Yeah, because, why would I want to do forgiveness for our people on the national plane? Because when I was living in Northern California, and I had the wonderful good fortune to become friends with some of the Aboriginal and Indigenous people in the community, in particular, Robinson Rancheria, Clayton Moore, his grandmother, when she was 4 years old, their village experienced a massacre. And she was the sole survivor because she hid under the water with a Tutsi reed. She grazed through the reed and she survived. And then she grew up and populated or repopulated the whole area. So like everybody in that area is related to Lucy Moore. And I got to have the good fortune of meeting, to meet her before she passed away, or his mother before she passed away. See, my mind it's not what it used to be. I got to meet one of them. It was either his grandmother or the mother, and I'm assuming the mother, but who knows? It could have been the grandmother because she lived to be, over 100. And so the medicine that she carried, and I couldn't understand it at the time because I was still really angry, was forgiveness. And that was her son, Clayton's message, or Clem, was forgiveness. And I would get so irritated. Like, how could you forgive them? And it's like, but it's true. We have to find a way to forgive, because it's not about condoning what they did, but it's about releasing the toxicity from us. The anger, it's the egoism, the things that will just keep us at a lower vibration. And so that's what talking the inner mileage got me thinking about, because I've done a lot of forgiving work with people on my personal level, like abuse and narcissists and family, stuff like that. I've done a lot, and assaults. I've done a lot of work with that. But at a national level, I have not. So that's something I'm looking forward to getting into more, especially during the high medicine times, because usually when I do the spiral dance medicine wheel, it's for the indigenous people of the 4 directions to come together and share the teachings. This is according to the Hopi prophecy, right? And so I guess now I'm adding another layer to it that focuses on Turtle Island in particular, the medicine that we're going to need to be able to rise above what happens. We have to be able to transcend it and not just be angry We know the truth now, getting back to the basics of farming and gardening by the stars, and in my case, making devotional offerings of music and sound and healing, and working with the herbs, according to the stars. And yeah, so we'll be adding forgiveness to our TaMeriKan cosmology sessions, and I have something we're going to work on towards the end of this session today. Probably, it's probably how we're going to close every session, actually. I've been thinking about it. All right, so today, instead of studying on the Maya, I'm going to read some books I have from my little Cherokee library. Like I said, I've been collecting these books for a decade, and I have not made time to read them. Usually what I do is I just randomly open it to a page and just read from it. So this is the book that I used, the Cherokee Herbal. And the other book that I used was stolen, so I have to recover it from somehow. But we can talk about this one today. The Cherokee Herbal Native Plant Medicine for the 4 Directions. Okay. So I don't know where. Oh, here we go. Oops. Right. Yeah, so this is always a good place to start. I have here this is the spiral dance medicine wheel. It's a Lakota medicine wheel, but I have added a few things to it. So it's a spiral dance medicine wheel. And I don't know if you can see, let's start with the east. Things usually start with the east, right? So over on the east, we have, it's representing the indigenous people of the east, but it also represents, the east. And the element of the east is air. And the season is the spring equinox. What else do we have here? Air, spring. Oh, and it's the root chakra. I added the chakras as well. Suffocant. Okay. Then we go to the middle of spring. Wait, where's the middle of spring? Going backwards. Oh, here we go. Sorry. The middle of spring, which is called May Day or Beltane to the people of the north. Because that's where the spiral dance came from. I learned of the spiral dance from the people of the north. And they celebrate the seasons, mid-seasons, and the mid-seasons. So then we have the May Day celebration, which is the middle of spring. And that is the tech chakra or the creativity chakra. Then at the bottom of the chart, and then we have the summer solstice, representing water, the soul, the south, the solar plexus chakra, Ob, and the chart, and it represents the people of the south, or what are considered to be Black people. But we're moving beyond racism, so this is just a symbol. It's not necessarily that because they're Black. Because other medicine wheels, they have the colors in different order. This is the spiral dance medicine wheel. Then you have the middle of the summer, which is the dog days or Sirius rising. That's August 1st. So it's a dog day, Sirius rising, and it's the middle of summer. What do I have here? What chakra is that? The heart chakra, or Kepra, is the name of the Arit. Then we have the west, or the fall equinox, on the side, the red people, representing the physicality, the earth, or second, the throat chakra. And then the middle of fall, Days of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, Halloween, All Saints Day, honor the ancestors. And that's the Myrrh, the first eye chakra. Then at the top we have the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. That represents fire, and of course, people of the north, spirit, and it's the crown chakra. And then over to the middle of winter, which we just had, Candlemas, Brigitte, Imbolc. It's also the new moon is at the new moon at this time is the Chinese New Year. And at the spiral dance, this represents ascension. It represents not just going around and around and around, but at this point we ascend one level. We move up the spiral. So this book, and I have a medicine wheel garden back in California where we took the plants, the herbs for each of those aspects of being, body, mind, soul, spirit. So the plants for the mind, we plant to the east. The plants for the soul or the emotions, we plant to the south. The plants for your physicality, like different organs or injuries, we plant to the west. And the plants for the spirit or the heart, or the fire, we plant to the north. So if you buy any of my products from my website, Tea Medicinal Salves or Basti Blend, you need that chart. That's a good idea. I will do that. I will make the charts available. Thank you very much. It's a very good idea. And then I can also include some of my notes from my garden, right? But if you buy some items from my shop, my wellness salves, you will be buying the herbs from the medicine wheel garden the way they're arranged, with the different aspects of being. Okay, so let's just see what's in. Oh, it's nice. They have the Cherokee language pronunciations of the herbs. So I'm gonna read the contents, and we might stay with this book for a while. Chapter 1, a medicine. Oh, who's the author? J.T. Garrett is the author. The medicine way of life, being in the medicine, the origin of Cherokee medicine, plant medicines of the East, plant medicines of the South, plant medicines of the West, and plant medicines of the North. And then there's an appendix, medicine formulas of plant and natural helpers, a bibliography, and join United Plant Savers. I don't know what that is. I've never done that. So I suppose what I will do is I'll just take them, next couple of sessions we'll read from this book, and then I will make the charts available with some of the plants for each of the directions. How does that sound? That sounds good. Okay, medicine way of life. Oh, we have a beautiful diagram here called Sacred Circle. What is it? Sacred Circle. We just talked about the spiral dance medicine, Okay. All right. A Cherokee elder puts his hand on a plant at the edge of the Oconalufi River at Toll Stream on a cool fall morning. Quote, this is a plant that the old ones used for thrush in the mouth and sore throat, unquote, he says. Quote, this is the one you can take for that hoarseness that keeps bothering you, unquote. He is pointing to yellow root. Is the Latin name. Xanthorrhiza simplissima, as he continues. Quote, some of the old people use this in a formula for easing childbirth. Here, scratch the bark with your knife. You see the yellow stem? That's how you recognize it. He cuts a piece. Quote, just chew on this and it will help your throat, unquote. As I write the plant's Cherokee name in my notebook, the old man asked, why are you writing that down? I replied that I could not remember all he was telling me about the plants. Quote, in the old days, you had to remember because you didn't have paper to write on. Besides, some folks would wonder why you are writing it down. You just got to remember and learn the hard way, unquote. So before I keep going, I just wanted to say if you have Cherokee roots, the Cherokee language is really fascinating to me. It's laid out the same way as the language of Ethiopia, which is one of the oldest languages that we know of. The way they have the consonants going across and the vowels going down. And I spent several years studying Chalagi and Hebrew when I was homeschooling my girls. And when I moved to California, I learned that Sequoia is, he's credited for coming up with the Cherokee language, but in reality, he just wrote it down. They already had that language for a long, long time. And also, even though in the books they portray Sequoia as a very fair-skinned person, he was actually really heavily melanated, like Aboriginal American melanated. And they cut off his earlobe when he didn't do what was told or something like that. I had the good fortune, this man lent me the book. He was actually a close friend of Clem Moore from Robinson Rancheria, and he lent me a book about the true story of Sequoia. And he told me to guard that book with my life, that there was only a few copies left in existence. And I was reading that book night and day. I was guarding it like it was my child. And one night we had a gig in the Bay Area, and we drove back to our house up north, which was like 4 hours. And we were so tired we didn't unload the car. We left all our gear in the car. And somebody broke in the car, and the only thing they took was that book. All our instruments were still there. I couldn't believe it. I was devastated. And it took me a long time to get up the courage to tell him that I lost the book. And when I finally told him the book, he said, don't worry about it. He feels great knowing that it was in the hands of a true Cherokee woman. And I started crying. Good rising. I see there's a few comments here. Magical butterflies was stopping by. Good rising, great awakenings. See some people have been in here. Divine Masculine, of course, is here tapping the screen. Thank you so much. He's such a wonderful supporter. Rasta Mystic says, I'm born in Alabama. I think we have that because of cheekbones. Yes, I get that a lot of Cherokee cheekbones and these circles under my eyes, they say are Lakota. It gives me a reason to not feel so bad about them. But there are signs of beauty in other traditions. Uh-oh. What did I say? Some comments in the live were filtered to protect the community's experience. Talked about my Cherokee cheekbones and the bags under my eyes. Okay. It is with the support of several Cherokee and also the name Cherokee is actually Chalagi or Chalagi. The CH sound is really a TSA or TJA sound. And so it's really fascinating. But Cherokee is the Americanized version of Chalagi. It is with the support of several Cherokee and other elders that I share the plant healing teachings I am putting forth in this book. As with my elder guide at the river, others have encouraged me to not write teachings down on paper, nor to use my computer to sort and store this information, said one elder. It's another's way to share with words. It is the Indian way to share with feelings. I really don't know how I came into my herbal knowledge. When I was a young mother or when I was pregnant, I knew I didn't want to raise my children with traditional medicines. So I started reading books about it. And then at some point, I just started planting herbs. And then I just knew them. I don't even know, really. It felt more like an activation of something I already knew. I just became an herbalist because I guess when I became a mother, I just I wanted to trust herbs. I did read some really good books. Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss, who studied with Native Americans, and then he wrote down what he learned and got credited with this amazing book collection. And then this rising, I was remembering a book called Nature's Child, and I can't remember the woman's name. She was an American woman living in North Africa, Lebanon, or I don't know. It's been almost 40 years. And unfortunately, I lent the book to someone who gave it away. And it's out of print. But she just wrote down how these people raise their children. And that's how I learned about all this stuff from books. But I didn't just read the books. The books inspired me to just live it. I just started living it. Okay. So it's the Indian way to share with feelings. Others have recorded these, and this is quotes, others have recorded these things, and they were not respected, nor were we for our way. Let me try that again. Others have recorded these things, and they were not respected, nor were we for our way, as another elder put it, quote, unquote. It was like when Mooney was doing the work here in Big Cub. He was taking the stuff he learned back to Washington. Why did the government need to know about the story of Rabbit or about how we used the plants for medicine? Unquote. Since the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Cherokees' forced relocation on the Trail of Tears, quote unquote, in which the U.S. Army transported the Cherokee to Oklahoma Territory, there has been a deep mistrust of the U.S. government on the part of the Cherokee for all the broken treaties and promises. Okay, so that is the kind of thing that I was referring to earlier about healing and forgiveness on a, we could say tribal level or continental level. Because I've done a lot of this work personally for myself and my family. However, for what we've experienced, what we've endured, what we've survived, if you follow Natarian spirituality and RU, they would say, well, that happened to us because of something we did in the past, or something our ancestors did in the past, or something we did in our past life as a nation or as the people of TaMeri. It can't just be, oh, these foreigners came and they did this to us, and now we have to take it all back. It is more to it than that. It has to be more to it than that. And I know I got into an argument with somebody on TikTok about that. She was asking why are these people being made to suffer? And I gave her a similar response. And she's like, how dare you say that? How dare you say these people deserve the treatment they're receiving? Da, 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 da. And I just reminded her that, well, we've been receiving that same treatment over here for over 500 years, or globally for 2,000 years. So there's got to be more to it than these foreigners came and did this to us. Okay, let me remember my place. Now, this is taking me on a tangent. Remember my place. But I remember I was reading a book by Saban Ma about the priests and priestesses of ancient Kemet. And it's his book. And there was a whole chapter on how a paragraph, which was a quote from, let me see if I can find it. I'm not going to lose my place. I want to come back to this. But everything's connected. Let's see if I can find it today. It's not very long. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know. I went right to the chapter, but I don't know if I can find the actual paragraph. Okay, well, I will find it. And we'll use it in the devotion chapter. But I found it. It's already marked, so that's good. Well, basically, when I read that book, I got the impression that the reason Kemet fell is because priests and priestesses had become corrupt by foreigners, like infiltrating the organization and the system, and then got greedy and started charging people money for offerings, which is what I was trying to do. And then it just fell. And when I mentioned that, I got a lot of what do you call it? Backwash. I got in trouble for saying that on a live stream. I'm not in the group anymore, so I'm saying it. But that's basically what happened. I'm going to find the actual paragraph where I got that from. So anyway, it's just time for us to get back to the basics, like he was saying, the stars, following the galaxy, planting by the stars, living by the natural clock, the natural holy days, the Aboriginal customs that we can find on all the continents, which we all agree were originally inhabited by heavily melanated or copper-toned people, individuals, tribes, and families I no longer referred to as Black, African American, colored, or Negro, or even American Indian. So that's what this is really about. Chief Babalao, I do what crash out, but people like you that speak forgiveness and rising above what happened and teach the youth bring me to not fucking sum up out there. Oh, well, the thing about forgiveness is it's not to condone what they did. That's not what it's for. It's to release the toxic energy that it gives us. It keeps us in the victim mode. So I'm sorry that you want to go out, and I hope that you still listen to me. But I'm talking from an energetic level, because when you can release and let go of that toxic energy, then you will be lighter and stronger. Okay, let's say a woman or a man has survived assault, SA, right? That person was, as you use those words, was FUCKD, right? So even though the physicality of injury is done, you went and turned in a kit and you reported it to the police, and you took time off from work and you're trying to understand, you still have to see this person at your job, whatever. The energy from the injury is still there. The trauma from the injury is still there. The anger, the frustration, the victimization, the guilt, the shame, the fetters of set are still there. And the RU is still there. These things happen to us according to Unitarian spirituality, which is to me the highest form that exists on the planet. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Those things don't happen for no reason. They say that we've come back to this earth to learn lessons and to go through experiences to clean up our karma, our RU. Our RU is every thought, word, intention, action, idea, anything, feeling, passion, emotion, all of that. If it's toxic, it's going to come back to you. So when we say forgiveness, it means to give it back to them. Send the energy back to them. Oh, what I was saying was when a woman is assaulted, there's an energetic hook into the womb. It's there until the woman does spiritual work, healing work to sever the connection. It's the same with being assaulted or violated or having your land stolen from you or put a gun to your head so that you celebrate their holidays. That the trauma is still there. And so forgiveness is a way to let go of that. I mean, you have to forgive ourselves. You have to forgive ourselves for needing the lesson in the first place. Babalao. So what happened to our ancestors was supposed to happen. Well, if you're going to go along with Unitarian spirituality, then yes. It wasn't supposed to happen because we were supposed to be living with Ma'at. We were supposed to be in alignment with truth. We were supposed to be living a life of enlightenment and abundance and freedom and prosperity. but we weren't. That's why it happened. But it wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to have the knowledge of Ma'at. We were supposed to make offerings at the time of the solstices and the equinoxes and the new moons and the full moons. We were supposed to be planting. We were supposed to be celebrating life. We're supposed to be loving one another. We're supposed to love ourselves. We're supposed to know ourselves. We're supposed to eat healthy, but we weren't. So that's why those things happen. They say that adversity happens so that you turn to the divine. So people had turned away from the divine, and so those things happened. And it happened in the past life too. It happened to our ancestors' past life. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had to come back and have these lessons. It's a way of taking responsibility for what happens to you instead of being a victim. Something happened for you. It didn't happen to you. What happened for our ancestors happened because we were living out of alignment with Ma'at. And that was forced upon us because for hundreds of thousands of years, at least 250,000 years, based on the Sphinx and the Pyramid of Giza and other things going on, there was a time when we did. And then people who didn't know about Ma'at, maybe people who weren't, people who left the community, maybe for one reason or other. Maybe they didn't live with Ma'at, or maybe they just didn't like Ma'at. I don't know. But somebody left, and when they came back, they had more people with them that didn't know about Ma'at, and they didn't follow Ma'at, and then they caused damage to the people who did follow Ma'at. And then things changed. So, yes, what happened was supposed to happen because people were living against Ma'at. And now we have the opportunity to return to Ma'at. You can call it what other names, but the oldest name is Ma'at. Ma'at, if you're going by Natarian spirituality or cosmology, the first thing that was created was Ma'at. Balance, order, justice, truth, harmony, reciprocity, and righteousness. If an entire family or tribe or nation is living by Ma'at, then those things won't happen. That's what I believe. Even if somebody comes up against you, if you have all these people in alignment with Ma'at, then they have protection and knowledge and wisdom and connection. And then those things, they just don't happen. It's a frequency. Those things happen because those people were living at a very low frequency. Even if they were religious or, practicing their spirituality was out of alignment with Ma'at. Even things that are very old, towards the end, towards the decline, it became colonized and lost its power. And they picked up other habits and customs and tendencies that were out of alignment with Ma'at. And so we just have to break that cycle. So I hope that answers your question. I was talking for like 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where I was because this is really important. I'm reading from The Cherokee Herbal by J.T. Garrett. This is a book written by a Cherokee herbalist. And I've already agreed to make this chart available with a summary of some of the herbs that go with each direction. So this is the 4 directions. So you can plant your garden using this spiritual technology. I've learned there's certain things I can't say on here, so I'm trying not to say them. But if we can talk about it more. I'm really getting close to finishing my book so I can start teaching these classes. So hopefully that happens sooner than later. Okay. Only a couple of elders were willing to have their names referenced in this book. One of those elders was Doc Amanita Sequoia, a Cherokee medicine man of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. I highly respected Doc for his willingness and determination that others should see and learn respect for the quote-unquote old ways. Doc, one of my teachers of Cherokee medicine, did not mind speaking out to the non-Indian public. He was always curious about what was written in what he called my quote-unquote black book. He even warned me that others would steal everything and call it theirs, like so many have done in the past to Cherokees. Unquote. Doc's wife, Ella Sequoia, and his children were very encouraging to me. My mother, Ruth Garrett, born Rogers, was concerned that my writing would be an issue with those tribal members who believe that, quote, we should just keep things the way they are because people will not understand the way of things on the boundary, unquote. The boundary being the Cherokee Indian Reservation in Cherokee, North Carolina. My promise to the elders was to not share those things that were considered sacred and meant to be kept secret for, quote, the keepers of the ways, the teachings of the ancestors, unquote. Okay. This chapter is kind of long. Yeah, I'm going to, I'll just keep up reading with this from this book because I think this is really interesting. And I did read this book. I haven't read it in a really long time. So let's see. I know what I'll do. I'm going to go through a few of the plants from the East. Adam and Eve root. Adam's needle, see bear grass. Agrimony. Alder. Alfalfa. Allspice. Alum root. Amaranth. The last time I was out at a community garden, the head gardener there told me that amaranth is the same as callaloo. I haven't tried cooking amaranth yet, but I was really excited when she told me that amaranth is the same as callaloo, which I thought was only available in Jamaica. Like anytime I go to a Jamaican restaurant to get some food here in the States, I'd ask for callaloo. Oh, we don't have any. I was like, well, why is it on the menu? You never have it. American hellebore, see Indian poke. American maidenhair, see fern, maidenhair. Angelica. Arrowwood shrub. Ash tree. Balm. Melissa balm. Balsam apple. Bainsberry. Barberry shrub. So I'm just reading through some of the herbs for the East. This is a huge list. I don't know how I would possibly read all of them. But I guess I could, I could do A and B today. I feel like I'm reading a chant or something. It's a really interesting feeling. I'll just stop with A. Every day we'll do a different alphabet. Because I was feeling something just from reading the names. That's what they say about the Tarian culture. Just by saying the name of the deity, you will invoke their energy inside of you. Okay, so that was good. Then I have another one here. American Indian herb cooking and herb lore. And I chose these books today over cosmology books because brother on We Know the Truth Now was talking about how the cosmology is really for agriculture and that the spirituality and meditation and everything combined with the stars and agriculture. And I was, at first I was like, no way, spirituality is, and then I realized, well, what he's saying is actually true. It's not like you can't separate them. You can't separate the stars from agriculture. You can't separate spirituality from the stars, and you can't separate spirituality from agriculture or culture. So that's why I chose these books for today, and we'll spend some more time with them. Okay. And again, these are books. Some of them I don't even know how I got them, but I read this one obviously because I planted my garden. But the other ones, they've just been sitting on my shelf for years. So I want to show a picture of Molly Running Wolf Sequoia, who, by the way, looks almost exactly to me like my Aunt Olivia, my granddad's sister. Their mother was full-blood Cherokee, Eliza Jane Davis, and she married Henry Johnson. Henry Johnson, because he was the son of Henri Jean Baptiste. And so my grandfather's name is Bernard Henri Johnson. Henri Jean Baptiste with a slave. I don't know her name or anything. My bloodline, though, is Cherokee. It's always been a Cherokee woman. All right, so this book has its source in people like Molly Sequoia, pictured above. She lives in the Big Cove section of the Qualla boundary in western North Carolina and belongs to the eastern band of Cherokees. She represents many of the older Indian women in this country who have a rich and interesting background of food and herb gathering, preparation, and use. Although many of the traditional dishes and formulas have been reduced to recipe form, there are many also that live only in the minds and memories of people like Molly. To her and to many like her, we owe our gratitude for helping us to make this book possible. So my grandfather's nickname, my great-grandma is 100% Cherokee. She passed at 100. Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, my grandmother's, my great-grandmother and great-great-grandmother lived to be 103 and 101, and then my grandmother lived to be 97, and then my mother didn't live as long, and I feel like I'm on track to join them at the hundreds. So my grandfather's nickname was Wolf, and so I would always just say that we're from the Wolf clan. But I don't have receipts, but it seems kind of obvious. Okay, so the chapters here are Molly Running Wolf Sequoia, Introduction. Oh, that was Molly Running Wolf Sequoia, Introduction. Vegetables and wild plant foods. Selu, the mother of corn. So I actually have a song called Where the Dog Ran, which is the legend of how the corn came to be. So I'd love it if you go find it on your music platform. It's Where the Dog Ran. It's about the origin of the Milky Way. Wild meat, animal, fowl, and fish foods. Kanati, the origin of game hunting, a legend. Indian beverages, soups, and broths. A gift from heaven, a legend. Indian breads, herbs, and their uses. So this sounds like a fun book to read through together. I like it because it has legends. So we'll just take it a little bit at a time. It's a very short book. So we'll start with the first legend. An ancient Indian legend. Once upon a time in the beginning days of life upon the earth, man and animals and plants lived together in equality and mutual helpfulness. Man was one with his environment in a beautiful balance of nature. The needs of all were met in a world of plenty. Man became quite aggressive, however, in his relationship with the rest of his world and began to care less and less for the rights and privileges of the others. Soon the harmony was disrupted. Okay, so they were living in Ma'at and then it was gone. That is why those things happened that's why these things are happening for our people. Harmony was disrupted. That's Ma'at. Ma'at was disrupted. Aggressive man was multiplying so rapidly because he was not in alignment with Ma'at. He was not living in accordance with Ma'at, and he was having relations way too often and just populating way too many children that were aggressive. I even take it a step further. There was a time when people weren't killing animals for food or picking up dead animals. They were just eating plants, fruits, vegetables, and flowers. That's another reason why those things happened. We came out of balance with Ma'at. Aggressive man was multiplying so rapidly that the other creatures became alarmed and called a meeting of all insects, birds, fishes, reptiles, and four-footed beasts. Their hostility having been provoked, they joined forces against man and devised many diseases to slow down in his encroachment, I said encroachment, upon the earth. The bond between man and the other creatures was broken. Isn't that interesting? How many illnesses and diseases are named after animals or blamed on animals? Man found that his aggressive behavior had brought much sickness upon him and had made it hard for him to secure the food he needed. Many methods were devised to appease the spirits of the animals which he killed for food. I'm going to read that again. Man found that his aggressive behavior had brought much sickness upon him and had made it hard for him to secure the food he needed. So without Ma'at, he couldn't even eat. Ma'at is the source of life. Ma'at anku Ma'at. Many methods were devised to appease the spirits of the animals which he killed for food. Oh, you mean like apologizing to the animal before you before you unalive it? The way what can I call these people without getting violations? The way the multinational corporations violate the rest of the planet. I don't see a red flag going up. Because we know who owns the multinational corporations, right? Those are the people who do this. The plant life remained friendly to man, however, and when they heard about the many diseases afflicted upon him, they responded by offering themselves as cures and remedies for his ailments. Each tree, herb, shrub, grass, and moss devised a cure for man, if only he would discover and use it. Thus, man created a situation of struggle and turmoil. To have food and to keep himself healthy, he must consider the hostility of the animals and the friendship of the plant life. He must carefully and prayerfully secure and prepare his meat and plant foods within the difficulties that he himself had devised. Let me say that again. He must carefully and prayerfully secure and prepare his meat and plant foods within the difficulties that he himself had devised. Through the years, the delicate art of securing and preparing both food and medicine developed among the Indian peoples. Included in these pages is information designed both to acquaint one with Indian lore and provide usable recipes for enjoyment of Indian foods and medicines. Where is the medicine to take the people back to Ma'at before they became quite aggressive? Where is that medicine? All I hear about is how Native American people need to eat animals to stay warm in the wintertime. They have an excuse for it every time. And then accept commodities and celebrate Thanksgiving. On the reservation I lived in Northern California, people would go to the health clinic and be mistreated by the staff, been given the wrong medicine, the wrong poison, or the wrong operation, or it's insanity. Okay, so why doesn't Native American culture, or they call it spirituality, say anything about going back to the time before men became quite aggressive and was multiplying so rapidly that they took over life on the planet. Where is that? That's why we have to go back to the Natarian traditions, the Aboriginal traditions, which I feel and believe, and my research has shown me, of the spiritual connection that's missing from quote unquote Native American traditions, North, Central, and South America, because they were colonized. Once you become assimilated by the federal government, then you've lost that spark of true spirituality. Or when I go to the powwow and the men have crosses over their genitals, and they're going to talk to me about being the oldest culture in the area. Okay, I'm not going to go there. I'm really glad I read this what do you call it? An ancient Indian legend, and it just really inspires me to keep going with this TaMeriKan Aboriginal cosmology, because we can go back to the time in the beginning days of life upon the earth, man, animals, and plants live together in equality and mutual helpfulness. When man was one with his environment in a beautiful balance of nature, and the needs of all were met in a world of plenty. Why isn't anybody talking about that? You shouldn't be talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the next injection of poison, or the next Super Bowl halftime performance. Oh gosh, that's so funny. They found that, what did he say? Man found that his aggressive behavior had brought much sickness upon him and had made it hard for him to secure the foods he needed. Oh, you mean hunting and unaliving innocent animals? And that the animals that they were killing were coming up with diseases to defend themselves. Many methods were devised to appease the spirits of the animals which he killed for food. Wow. It's right there in their myths. And then when I would go talk to them about health consciousness, or eating healthy, or fasting, or juicing, or taking a break from meat, they looked at me like I was crazy. It's right here in their myths. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, well, yeah. So we're gonna keep reading from this book. I'm not gonna get so upset. I might. I just want to say that one of my favorite dishes to make is the Three Sisters with corn, beans, and squash. The way that they would plant, and Earth Speaks, and We Know the Truth Now talk about this a lot. The planting technique of the corn, stalk of corn, and the bean pole that winds up the stalk of corn, and the squash that winds up the bean pole that winds up the corn. And so when we have our winter solstice holiday, which we've totally rearranged everything to reflect our knowledge, or embracing that we're the Aboriginal Americans of TaMeriKa. We've totally reorganized, and I'm actually working on the book or the hand guide so that you can celebrate this way with your families at the winter solstice. But what we like to do is find different ways of preparing food with the Three Sisters, like Three Sisters stew, or Three Sisters tamales, or we had Three Sisters latkes, just different, because we started off following the Hebrew holiday of the Hanukkah, but we did it at the winter solstice, so we would have latkes. So now we have all different types of latkes. Yeah, so we really like doing that. So Three Sisters stew is really delicious. I'm just telling you, it was so good this last winter solstice. It was really good. Let's see, we have Bernadine Davenport. So much history anyone can research. I believe America is ancient, is Atlantis, Egypt. LDS has written proof in the Book of Mormon. Thank you for your video. I really enjoyed. Bernadine, I have a video about this very theme, that America is Egypt. Okay, so my thing is, or Atlantis. Egypt is in Egypt. The culture that we're familiar with as Egyptian is actually Kemetic, ancient African Egypt. And these this circle, we don't say Kemet anymore because Kemet is a place in Africa, and it's a time. Kemet fell when Egypt conquered it. The Greeks conquered it and named it Egypt. And so this continent is known as TaMeri, which means beloved land. It's a term from the Meduneta, the language of Egypt, the language of Kemet, but it refers to North, Central, and South America. But Egypt is a physical place, and this is another physical place. So I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I understand what you're saying, but I want to see us come together in the language of truth. That when we're communicating, we all know what we mean, and we on the same page. We may not all have the same spiritual practices, or whatever, but I would like to see us come up with a language that is true in any language you translate it to. Because if you go over to Egypt, which is now occupied by the Arabs, or you speak to some Nubians, their ancestors have been there forever, then what are you saying? You're saying that they're not there? They're there. They've been there. The statues, the pyramids, the temples, they're there in Egypt, which was originally Kemet. And this place is not that place. Well, we have a similar culture, and it's shared with Atlantis and Lemuria and the Olmec and the Toltec and the Quechua and the Cherokee and the Lakota. That's where we need to come together. We need to break free of this bickering over the tribalism. And another thing is, anytime it's something coming from the very same people that enslaved us, I don't care what they're saying. Don't come at me about something that some Christian organization has to say about us. We already have plenty to say about us. Plenty. Right? If whether you're talking about Atlantis or Lemuria, you're still talking about us. But Atlantis is Atlantis, Lemuria is Lemuria, Olmecs are the Olmecs, and we are TaMeriKans, Turtle Islanders. Let's keep it simple and stop fighting. And we're not going to claim a Greek name. Greek, we're not Greek. So we're not Egyptian. We're not Egypt. Our culture predates Egypt. Anything Greek, they stole it from Egypt, which they stole from Kemet. So let's just be real all the time. Let's just speak the truth. Don't speak in language that deifies them or raises them or empowers them. Oh, that's what I have to say to that, Burgundy. Okay. All right. So we read from some books. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving forward. And then I know some people get upset when I do refer to indigenous people of the Four Directions and say, well, we're the Aboriginals or we're the originals. And I'm like, yeah, but some of them kept quote unquote our traditions and our culture alive. They did. They survived. They resisted whatever they went through. They still have the language, some of them, and I respect that. I honor that, and I receive that, and I use that, and it activates something in me that's even older than whatever they have. But I appreciate love books like this. I appreciate love American Indian cookbooks because their great-great-grandmothers shared those stories with them. Their great-great-grandmothers passed that down. And we know who their great-great-great-grandmothers were. They were the great-great-great-granddaughters of our ancestors. So I'm not angry with them. I don't dishonor them. I have empathy for them because they're angry that we're waking up. And they're going to have to not just share, but they're going to have to respect. and there's a natural order of things. There's the present, there's the future, and there's the past, and they're going to have to reconcile with the past in order to move forward. And that means to embrace the fact that their ancestors didn't look like them, that they came later. And that's where they get very angry and defensive. But it's the truth. It's just the way that it is. You know how they're always talking about it's the way it is? That's the way it is. They are the younger descendants of the original people. So I enjoy reading these books. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I was going to start something new in this section. So let me go get to my drum. And like I said, the next spiral dance medicine wheel. Oh, here we go. Yes, I started looking into TaMeriKa also. It's so interesting. Yes, it is interesting. And I hope I didn't get too passionate about it. But I think it's really important. Like when somebody says, they say, oh, I'm trying to stop eating meat. I say, well, then don't try. Because if you try, you never will. So if we're really going to reclaim our Aboriginal heritage, our original heritage, our TaMeriKan heritage, then we have to stop using words that celebrate Western imperialism and Caucasian. And so I just break it in and say, oh, you don't use that in this circle. It's strictly indigenous or back. Or, Native Americans, like I said, kept traditions alive from the indigenous people. So let me break that down. So Native Americans, we'll start with original. Original Aboriginal people are called copper-colored here. Black is a construct of racism and Western imperialism. So we no longer identify as Black because there's no landmass called Black. There's no nation called Black. It's just a name that was put on anyone who was heavily melanated and a descendant of the Aboriginal people of the planet. So we stopped using Black, stopped using American, because we've been reclassified. Black, American Indian, colored, Negro, Afro-American, African-American. We stopped using those terms. So we got off track. Okay, I'm going to go get my drum and say, right back. Okay, I don't think I finished breaking down what I was, how I look at the different tribes and classifications. So the original people, the Aboriginal Americans of North, Central, and South America were described as copper-colored and resembled people from Africa, but definitely different. When you read the descriptions of the early pirates and explorers, they all refer to us as copper-colored. We've also been called tawny. I had more tea, I didn't know. Then indigenous people are the people that were living on the continents at the time of the invasions by the Europeans. Even there was indigenous people of the North that were there, and they practiced all their techniques on them first before they moved to the other continents. So the indigenous people are descendants of the Aboriginal people, but their appearances probably have changed quite a bit over hundreds of thousands of years. And then there was that catastrophe, I think it was like 12,000 years ago, maybe. So they were there. Like, for example, the Palestinians are the indigenous people of that area, but they're not the original people of the area. Then you have the Native Americans or the Native people, and they are the people who are here now after the conquests. Some were shipped over here to replace us. There's lots of ways the Native Americans came to be. For example, in um, Egypt now, the Arabs are there. They're the ones who found all the pyramids and the temples and everything, but they're not the ones who built them, and they're not the indigenous people because the Nubians were still there, and they just kind of pushed them to the side. So it's a pattern that happened everywhere. So in this continent, North America in particular, the descendants of the Aboriginal Americans are rising up. We're waking up. And we've got to come together and figure out our identity, our sovereignty, get our paperwork in order so that we can, you know, yeah, that's what we need to do. I'm not going to say so that we can be anything but the limit, because we're infinite. We're infinite beings. Okay, so we got some comments here. Chief Babala. At this point, my culture is going to be nature. I'm not going to label myself as what I know my ancestors were because I feel like that's only going to repeat the cycle in some way or another. It's official. Well, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I did talk to a young person on here and I said, how are we going to unite? And they said, by our love of nature. And I realized he's correct. And then, of course, I'd have to throw in there that the word nature comes from the word neter, which is Netarian, which means following the cosmic forces of nature, aka gods and goddesses, which we no longer refer to them as, such as Ma'at, Hetaru, Jehuti, Ra, Heru, Aset, Nebuhet, Asar. And these cosmic forces are found in every culture that Aboriginal or indigenous culture that you can name. And I believe that's how we can unite, by breaking them down to the fundamental level, which, as you said, is nature. But I don't want to be using the English language anymore. I would prefer to be using ancestral languages, or if we could agree on another language altogether based on nature. But I don't see why we need to recreate the wheel. Can TaMeri history be found during meditation sessions? Can TaMeri history be found during meditation sessions? Well, I have accessed information from that. Yes, I have during meditation, and also from ingesting certain substances that I can't talk about on here. Chief Babalo, Terence McKenna said culture is not your friend, and now I understand what he means. Human culture has not been my friend, and looking into history, nobody's. Well, I understand you. Human culture has caused a lot of division and separation. So, well, I fare thee well on your journey. I still am very drawn to star culture and celestial energies, and through my meditations, I'm learning how to manifest a better life. And by tuning into the stars and for example, after our break, when we come back on the Kimatones channel on YouTube, we'll be in astronomy, astrology, and stuff. This portal opening that's still going on that started January 21st. So much has come into my life during this portal opening. So many things that I needed and wanted and have been visualizing and working to manifest has just suddenly opened up. And the last time something like this happened to me, so that's I think I can ask just a minute. The last time something like this happened to me is when I first got into sound healing with the tuning forks. So I'm really grateful that I'm able to keep up with the stars and the culture, and it grounds me and gives me a deep connection between where I am and where I want to go. And I hope, Chief Babalao, that you do not leave culture altogether. I know how you feel sometimes when I get really down. I'm like, why did I even get into the spiritual path? Because the people are so divided and they're so asleep, and I don't know how to help them, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to stay alive, and, and all the answers are within. So I think culture is important when you want to be able to connect with others. And since we're humans, we have a need to connect with other people, with our tribe or our family or our community or our nation. And to me, that is where culture comes into play. It's important to have a spiritual culture based on nature so that we can come together for real, for real. Um, but just because it's really hard sometimes, it's easy to say you're going to leave it alone. Um, so, okay, well, um, nobody's human culture has not been my friend in looking into history. Nobody's. I don't know. I still believe and feel and know and trust that when people are awakened to Ma'at in our hearts, which is it's like a ruler that lives within us, instead of looking to a ruler on a throne giving us orders and hurting people, we live by the ruler in our heart. And the more people are aware of that, I think the better the world will be. We just have to keep our vibrations high and shine light for others. Like I was saying earlier, I couldn't understand why it was important for me to come on and do these live streams if, I had the wrong mindset. People weren't willing to make donations and wasn't able to make money, then how can I afford to do it? And then, I stopped doing it, and then I got the answers. It's because it cleans your RU. It makes your heart lighter. And since your life is sustained provided for by the source, then you're not dependent on people to make donations. If they want to make donations, fine. But my life isn't dependent on it. The temple work, I'm not the one sustaining the temple. The temple is sustained and provided for by the source. So one thing I can do is share wisdom, information, music, and sound that helps raise the vibrations so that the world will someday be a better place. But even though the world still is like crap around me, I'm at peace inside of myself because I'm doing what my spirit tells me to do. Even though it is cold and I don't have money to buy propane, and I do have a dog that's on a very expensive diet, and I'm so grateful that she's here with me, but sometimes I don't know how I'm going to buy her food. No matter how bad it seems, I'm at peace inside of myself because I'm doing what I was told. And I can point 2 times in my life, only 2. Well, when I was using the pendulum. Yeah. When I was aware, I won't say in my whole life, but 2 times since I was really aware in myself that I didn't listen to myself, and it was a total disaster. So that's not a bad track record. I mean, the other times when crappy things were happening to me, I didn't know myself. I heard this little voice, but I didn't know what it was. So I have to show myself some grace. I'm telling myself right now, show myself some grace. And I didn't know. Now I know. So I don't do that anymore. So, but anyway, well, I'm glad that Chief Babala was still here and that you don't give up. That's what we're doing. We're building a culture. We're building a spiritual culture based on nature with a common language so we can communicate, and we can go and talk to someone in Brazil and Peru, Ecuador, Belize, Mexico, Canada, and we can communicate at this level, not the tribal level, because we have our own little, preferences, but at this foundational level. When I talk about what is TaMeri, they're going to be like, oh, da da da. We say that in this word. And when I say Ma'at, they're going to say, oh yeah, Ma'at. In our culture, it's called this. That's what I'm seeking. And when I show them this hieroglyph of Nut and Chu, I don't know if you can see it, they're going to say Nut, Chu, and Geb. They say, oh yeah, we have this scroll, and they're going to show it to me. And we're going to understand each other on that level. And then we'll be able to rise up, work together, and defeat Western imperialism. So I guess in a way it's good that you say it's official, that you're not going to use the culture of your ancestors, that You're going to look for one based on nature, which is, that's what we're putting together. Okay, so before I move on, ask me to translate Apua Taku, Apuat Taku, Cebu Ataku. I think so. Wait a second. I know Aku is light being. Like the name of my wellness platform is Light Being Wellness. It's Aku Senep. Aku is light being. And Apuat is related to Anpu. Hold on a second. I may not know it by heart, but I know where I can find it in a book. Okay, let's see. I recognize Apuat from the opening prayer. And tonight, when I come back for a devotion, like I'm going to take a break, walk my dog, and do some things, practical chores. And then we'll come back with a sound healing wellness session. Then I'll take another break, and then we'll come back with devotion. So, but here is the divine offering. Apuat. No, that's not it. It's Wetpuat. Apuat. So I was wrong. I thought it was. So I'm gonna have to look at that. I thought this was with Wetpuat. Apuat. I'm going to write that down in my little gray book and look for it. And I don't know if I'll get to it before the end of the day, but I will look into it. Apuat. That sounds so familiar. I should have pinned that right. I guess that one's probably frozen. It's so cold. It was so cold enough. Apuat. Sounds so familiar. Apuat. There we go. Apuat. Aku. Cebu Ataku. Okay, well, give me some time and I will see what I can find. Oh, that rhymes. Okay. All right, so what I wanted to start doing during these TaMeriKa sessions is start doing some healing work for our tribe or our nation specifically. Because usually I'm more like all four directions, but I realize that we need a certain medicine because we're from here. We're not from those other places, even though the tools are effective. So I wanted to share a couple of techniques. So get out a piece of paper and a pen. And at first I thought I would say mine out loud, but I'm not. I'm just going to write in my journal. And we're going to do something called Ho'oponopono. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Is anybody saying that? I'm going to type it in here. It's a indigenous Hawaiian technique of forgiveness. Because like I said, one guy told me I need to do more forgiveness work. And my mind immediately went to like what we were talking about the RU of our nation, of our ancestors, of our people. That would, whatever it was or whatever the RU is, it needs to be cleaned up because these things keep happening to us. So this is one way that we can make a difference is by doing this type of healing work on behalf of our ancestors, on behalf of our nation, not just on our own behalf, which I do during the personal self-care sessions. Well, actually, I have not been doing it lately. So what is Ho'oponopono? So it's forced. And if you look up a video, I'm going to share the video I have found. But if you look it up online, make sure that the person that's talking about it is a Hawaiian person. Because there is an American who's collaborating with a Hawaiian. And they've taken it to, the commercial level. So there's an elder who was, authorized by the ancestors and the community to share the message with the general public, and then other people have taken it. Kind of like what the elders of those other books were saying, that other people will take the wisdom and water it down, but they'll keep some of it just for them, which is great. So there's 4 steps. And so you do it. So like I said, we're doing this on behalf of our family, our tribe, our nation, and this entire North, Central, and South American continent. So, we do one round together, and then in the future, you could do different ones. For me, I'm just going to do for TaMeri. So I'm going to write TaMeri at the top of my page, or TaMeriKa. Okay. And so the 4 steps, you do these 4 steps. You do the first round between yourself and the other person. So like I'm going to do TaMeri and ignorance of the divine. Let's see, what is it? I know. TaMeri or TaMeriKa and the old ways. Because we had them, and either we lost them or they were taken from us. How do I spell it? Oh, okay. HO apostrophe OPONOPONO. Ho apostrophe opono. Yeah. I could write it, but my handwriting is so bad. I don't know. You'd even be able to see it. TaMeriKa. Ho opono. Okay, so that's my little journal. I'm gonna write it down. Okay. So then there's 4 questions. So I'm gonna do the first round between me and the old ways. And then the second round, it's like you're channeling what the other person, it could be a person, place, or thing, or a situation, says to you. So first it's going to be me talking to the old ways, and then it's going to be the old ways talking to TaMeriKa. I guess this was not personal, so I could do it out loud. So you get the idea. So I'm going to read the 4 questions and then do the exercise. So the first one is, they say, I'm sorry, but I don't say I'm sorry. I say, I apologize. I apologize. So you could do it between you and your ancestors, Chief. And like I said, when I say forgive, it's to release the toxic energy of whatever it is that's still lingering in your energy field, which is still attracting the same situation. And then we pass it on to our children. It's not like us saying, oh, it's okay that you did this to us. It's like, fuck you. I'm not holding on to your shit anymore. That is forgiveness. Try that definition. It's funny how these apps will let me say that. But it's in the spiritual way. Fuck you, I'm not going to take your shit anymore. That's forgiveness. I apologize. Step number 2, please forgive me. Number 3, thank you. Number 4, I love you. Okay? So whenever I do this, sometimes it ends up being kind of funny or sarcastic. And so I have to do it again, because you got to be sincere. So you do that between yourself and the other person, place, and thing situation, and then the other person, place, and thing situation talking to you. And so today we're not focusing on our personal trauma. We're focusing on, doing this healing work on behalf of our family, tribe, nation, or TaMeri or TaMeriKa, the whole continent, due to the, Western imperialism, colonization, caucasity, racism, enslavement, Trail of Tears, like all of that, PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome. We're working on healing that in this next, 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. So we're just going to write down your answers for both of them. And I'll read mine out loud since it's not anything really personal, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So we'll just take like 5 or 10 minutes to do this. Do I have any music to play in the background? I don't know. I think I might get in trouble if I play music in the background. You get in trouble if you play music? But I'm gonna see what do they do if I play my own music in the background, right? Like, what'll happen if I do that? Let's play Rise Again Truth by TaMeriKan, my very first album. It even shows up. Let's see. That's a jam playing in the background. Oh man. I guess I have to just go to my page, and then go from there. I'm sorry. Oh, I know. I didn't pay my fine, so it's not showing up. Okay, I'll do Black Turtle Island. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're just gonna take a few minutes. This album is called Black Turtle Island by TaMeriKan, original reggae music. Okay, so let's working on I apologize, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And if you're just tuning in, we're doing the exercise of Ho'oponopono on behalf of our family, tribe, nation, continent, as we heal together from the travesties of Western imperialism, colonization, and Caucasity and racism. Wish I could put them up there. I think I can. Or, yeah, I can. Figure that out someday. Okay, now I'm moving on to the second half, which is between the old ways talking to me, TaMeriKa. If you're just tuning in, the steps are I apologize, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. All right. Now I'm just. All right. I'm going to do another one because that one wasn't really what I was trying to get at. So I'm going to do one more. But it was good. It was good. I'm going to do one between TaMeriKa and Western imperialism. Let's see what I get with that. And one more. All right. That's a good song. All right. All right. So, did any of you all get to work on your assignment? I'm going to share what I wrote, and then we'll be ready. We'll be ready for our little prayer, and then we'll take a break. So again, this is Ho'opono is an indigenous Hawaiian technique of forgiveness, and like we talked about today, it's not saying that what they did is okay. It's just that they dumped all that crap into our energy fields, and we've just been trying to recover. And what we really need to do is just send that stuff back to them. Just return to sender. We don't want this. And at the same time, realize that it happened so that we can clean our RU. It happened because our ancestors or us in our past life had moved away from Ma'at. And so in this lifetime, in this moment, we're taking actions to purify our RU, to get back into Ma'at, and to develop the spiritual culture based on the stars and farming and living natural. That's the goal, right? So first I did between myself or TaMeriKa and the old ways, because that's really what happened. We lost the old ways. We lost them. They were taken from us. Our ancestors did their best to leave records, and now we've got to make sense of them all, right? So I apologize for losing track of you. I apologize for forgetting about you. Please forgive me for being born into a family that is ignorant of the divine and for doubting these old ways. Thank you for showing me the way, for leaving instructions for us to follow. Number 4, I love you. You are not the old ways. You are the only ways. This sounds like a song. Then this is from the old ways to me. Old ways says to me, TaMeriKa, I apologize for being hidden from you for so long. Or we apologize for making it so painful to find us and to express us into the world. Thank you for doing such a great job teaching the people. And number 4, we love your music. And then I said, I wanted to get more into the anger part of it. So this is TaMeriKa or me speaking to Western imperialism. Number 1, I apologize to you for allowing you into my lands and letting you act like a child and not stopping your egoism. Number 2, please forgive me for loving life so much that I allowed you to be spoiled and be a rotten brat full of egoism. Instead of treating you like a parent, I treated you like a child. Number 3, thank you for helping me see the truth, the errors in my ways, and the ways needed to defeat egoism in you and in everyone infected by you. That was new. Number 4, I love you, yet I detest your ignorance. Now here's Western imperialism talking to TaMeriKa or me. I apologize for destroying your ways of life while listening to my ego. Number 2, please forgive me for my ignorance of the divine. Number 3, thank you for raising the vibrations. It is working slowly. And number 4, we also love your music. As you can see, it can be kind of funny. But, when I do this type of work, I actually feel a knot in my stomach, like unraveling. So that was an example of me doing it today for the people, for our nation, condition, situation. And then when I do my self-care, I do it for myself and all the people that quote unquote hurt me or violated me or caused me harm. And then there's 2 sides of that prayer. Another forgiveness prayer. Let's see if I can find it in 5 seconds. No. Yes, I have it. Perfect. Okay. So again, this is the TaMeriKa section where we're dealing with healing from, as a nation. So this is a Buddhist prayer of forgiveness, and it's in my Ma'at RU notebook. RU, remember, is like karma, but it's not just your past actions. It's your past actions, your ancestors' past actions, your thoughts, your intentions, your visions, your your ideas, your manifestations, your words, your unspoken words. If you just thought about saying something, even if you didn't say it, that's part of your RU. Your feelings, your desires, your passions, and then your actions, of course. Because the Buddhist prayer forgiveness. So again, this is going to be on behalf of TaMeriKa, North, Central, and South America, Aboriginal, Indigenous people. If I have harmed anyone in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, I ask their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through their own confusions, I forgive them. And if there is a situation I am not ready to forgive, I forgive myself for that. For all the ways that I harm myself, negate, doubt, belittle myself, judge, or be unkind to myself through my own confusions, I forgive myself. Because we have to remember that everything that happens for a reason in divine right order, because the people involved were living outside of Ma'at. So that is the reason. That's the reason, according to Unitarian spirituality, is because there was so little Ma'at that, like the Cherokee legend said, that the aggressive people were able to take over. The priests and priestesses had become weak. They've been infiltrated by outside forces. So now we have the opportunity to bring back Ma'at. Okay. All right. So last but not least, this is the one I was talking about for over an hour now. I started thinking about the healing work I do for my family, because estrangement runs in my blood. Someone will stop talking to you for 50 years and you'll die and they still won't talk to you. You'll be in the hospital on your deathbed and they still, even a mother, my aunt treated her own daughter, my cousin, this way. And my daughter hasn't spoken to me. This is year 15. This summer will be 15 years. So it runs in my blood. So I've been trying to think of ways to do breaking generational curses, things like that. And so I found this prayer online called "It Ends with Us," and it was a Christian prayer. You know, as I looked up breaking generational curses, and this is one that came up. So I read the page, and so what I've done here is I've written it over in a language that I relate to, or a spiritual framework. So I'm just going to start sharing that at these sessions, because that's what we want to do. We want to break the generational curse, like Chef Babala was talking about. His ancestral ways weren't serving him. The human cultures is just repeating over and over again. That's why we're on a spiral dance, because at the middle of winter we ascend. We don't just repeat. We learn from what we learned, and we take the knowledge that we can use, and we ascend. We transcend the ignorance. Okay, so I said I wanted to play my drum while I'm singing, while I'm playing this. So I do have some ceremony. Oh, I wanted to write some things. Have some ceremonial songs too. And there's no time limit on these sessions, so I guess I need to do it. And it is so warm in here. I'm trying to heat it down. Let's put the sun out. Okay. Gotta get a lighter. Hold on. All right, so I got here. I'm always putting cultures together. I have a cauldron, right? And then I have sage. I was told not to use those shells anymore that were so popular for burning sage because the creatures are being wiped out. Now that it's been Americanized, everybody's trying to get those shells, and they're wiping out the the shells, the animals that live in the shells. And then also they're restricting the Native Americans from harvesting them. They restrict the Native Americans from harvesting seaweed. This is a sidetrack. The Europeans, when they harvest the seaweed, they can weigh it while it's dry, so they can get more, right? But when the Native Americans go to weigh their seaweed, they have to weigh it while it's wet. This is 2025. Anyway, so on some sage. And I have a candle. I have a feather headdress that I made with feathers that I've gathered over the years, and my daughter has presented me with eagle feathers. It's really nice, but I have to repair it. Oh, Uta! Hotep Sut is here today. Hotep! We are winding down this first session of the day. I'm going to close with this prayer I adapted. I got a little candle. And I have some tea. I don't have my full altar here, but. And I'm going to burn this sage in a cauldron. Yeah, they say just use a metal pan. Don't cook up those shells anymore because we're wiping them out. I forgot what they're called. Okay. So we're just getting ready to recite a prayer that I adapted for breaking generational curses, our ancestral curses. In our lineage, our tribe, our nation, our continent, our homeland of TaMeriKa, the Aboriginal Americans to rise up and decolonize. We've been talking about building a culture based on spirituality, cosmology, agriculture, finding a commonality in our language, so we're on the same page, activating the sacred sites. But today we're focusing on, today we're focusing on forgiveness, which is really hard to do because we have justifiable anger. But when we hold on to the anger, it just weighs us down. We want our hearts to be light as a feather. So it's not for the benefit of the perpetrator, it's for our benefit so that we can be lighter and stronger. That's my intention in prayer. So there's this beautiful drum I got in Taos. It's studying sound healing. So like I said, I got this, let me get the music stand. I got this prayer from a website on breaking generational curses. It was at a church website, so I just altered it a little bit. So this is our temple here. Today was a good session. I really enjoyed reading from the Cherokee legend books and the Pyramid book. And I've agreed to make the spiral medicine wheel available in a practical way and include some of the herbs to plant in your medicine wheel garden. And this thing is so cold. In the other room. Here. So I don't have a page turner, so I'm going to have to stop and turn the page. I also talked about how hard it is to find loose leaf tobacco in the city of Chicago. I don't have any of that today. I'll get some. I gotta get my drum back in the sun. When you don't put it in the sun, it doesn't have a good sound. Well, it has a better sound when you keep it in the sun. Again, it ends with us, inspired by was him at prayerscore.com. It ends with us. But this one is for Neb Ma'at. Neb Ma'at means all Ma'at. Everything is Ma'at. It is total Ma'at. That's what we want. Heavenly Mother, Father, Dua Ma'at, Dua Asmataji, Dua Rahirakuti. I come before you with a heart full of hope, declaring that the struggles of the past are broken today. Enlightenment is assured for those with Ma'at in their hearts. I hold on to this truth, Lord of Ma'at, and seek for freedom, justice, and enlightenment from all inherited struggles and negative cycles in my family, especially the ones that cause separation and non-communication between mothers and daughters. I choose to live by Ma'at, with Ma'at, for Ma'at. I choose to follow Ma'at and to serve Ma'at. My actions are Ma'at Ari. I am Nebet Ma'at, Lady of Ma'at. May my mind, my words, my feelings, and actions all be purified by Ma'at. Keep my heart as light as the feather of Ma'at. Today I choose blessing and life, both for myself and for the generations that follow. I pray that there are future generations of my bloodline, that by removing this curse, the next generation will choose to come through my beautiful daughters. Just as Aset was able to rise for such a time as this, to keep her family protected and restored, I declare that I too am equipped to overcome. I break every chain of fear, lack, addiction, and despair that has found my family, my tribe, my nation. Every chain of hopelessness, ignorance, deception, betrayal, abandonment, and pain. It ends with us. And I claim a new beginning, one filled with your love, grace, and blessing. Dua Asmatashi for your redemptive power, for healing, and for the bright future you have promised. Hotep, Amen Rama'at. Declarations and affirmations. I declare that the cycles of pain and struggle stop today, and a new beginning starts for my family, my nation, my tribe, my neighborhood, my community. The pains of separation, isolation, estrangement, violation are no longer afflicting my family, no longer afflicting my people. Today it ends with us. No more generational curses will hold us back from the blessings that are promised in our birthright. I break the chains of addiction, poverty, and fear. My family is free in Ma'at. We are Makaru, true of speech. Our hearts are as light as the feather of Ma'at. I affirm that it ends with us. We choose life, peace, and blessings for ourselves and future generations. We affirm future generations of our bloodline. It ends with us. And from now on, we walk in the freedom and victory of Ma'at Rahirakuti. In the name of Ma'at, and in the name of Asmataji, in the name of TaMeriKa, it ends with us. We will not pass on the brokenness. Instead, we build a legacy of love and healing. We reject the curses of the past and embrace the new life that God has for us. Dua Jehuti for opening our minds and our voices to divine communications that we share lovingly with one another. Our words are as lotus blossoms coming from our lips. Do a knit for healing and connecting relationships with our children, with our families. May we break the curse inherited from our mothers and grandmothers. May the future generations be freed from this curse of separation and vanity. May the future generations of this bloodline come through. It ends with us, and the legacy of blessing begins now. Our family, our nation, our tribe, our community, our nation, our continent, our family will thrive and experience Ma'at's goodness and Aset's well-being. I declare in faith that it ends with us. The old ways are gone, and a new chapter of redemption and restoration begins today. I proclaim healing over my family, over my neighborhood, over my community, over my tribe, my nation, over this continent, breaking every generational curse and claiming the freedom Ma'at has provided. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, there's one more page out here. This is faith activity. Faith is all about trusting the divine and taking action based on Ma'at Ari. When we believe in our divinity, we activate the power of the Neteru in our lives. Prayers to break generational curses help us step into freedom. It ends with us, and today we choose to break free from the past with a prayer to break generational curses. To engage in faith activity, we must declare Neb Ma'at over our lives. When we speak words of victory, we align ourselves with divine plans. Prayer for generational curses helps us leave behind old struggles. It means no more carrying the burdens of the past. As we walk by faith, we leave behind old cycles of struggle. It ends with us as we embrace Ma'at's eternal legacy of blessing. Our faith is not just belief, it's movement. Through breaking generational curses, prayer, action, and trust, we create a future that reflects divine goodness and grace. I hope. Okay, so I'm going to close with the song Winnaday Yahoo, Prayers for a New Day. Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, ya, ya, ya. Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, ya, ya, ya. Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, ya, ya, ya. Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, Winnaday Yahoo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, ya, 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 ya. Aho. All right. That feels great. Thank you for tuning in for today's Wellness Workshop, Phase 1, TaMeriKan, Cosmology, Spirituality, Culture, etc., etc. The people of TaMeri, Materian word for our beloved land. And I hope you've enjoyed today's session. We're going to take a short break, and I'll be back in a couple of hours for Phase 2, which is sound healing and herbs and crystals and astrology and different and meditation. And we'll take a dinner break, and we'll be back for Phase 3, which is devotion, which is music and Tyrian spirituality. All right, so thank the ancestors for giving me answers when I had questions about how to proceed with this program. And also I'm grateful that it was so warm today. I think the secret is to wait until the sun is up instead of trying to get on at 8 in the morning when it's still 5 degrees. So I think this is the right schedule. And I hope to see you in a few hours on YouTube. I'll be back on the Kimatones Sound Healing channel for the Sound Healing session. And then for devotion in the evening, I'll be back on the I Read to Chia Music channel. All right, and TikTok, thank you as always for your support and love. And those of you that are still here at the end, I really appreciate your presence. It's a gift to me. Hatep. Thank you, Ask. And I wrote down your questions, and I will do some research and get back to you.